Hey everybody, and welcome to Cars with Cocktails, the show where we combine two things that go perfectly together, drinking and driving. I'm your host, Paul Barrett, joined by my co-host, Max Wobbles, our resident racer, and we're going to try some drinks and get into some car stop. So, let's go. So
what are we drinking today?
Today we're going to be drinking, it is a peanut butter old fashioned, and this is from Screwball Whiskey. I heard about this from another podcast I listened to, and it is 1.5 ounces of Screwball whiskey, which is peanut butter whiskey, 3/4 of an ounce of rye whiskey, which we used Bullet whiskey, and then 4 dashes of bitters. And what do you think?
It's unique. I don't think I can say that I like it, but it's definitely peanut butter. It's I'm speechless. I'm taken aback.
It has a very strong alcohol flavor, and then the peanut butter hits you because obviously it's an old fashioned, so it's pretty heavily with alcohol content.
Indeed. It is strong. It's very aromatic. You go for that sip and you just get, it doesn't smell like peanut butter. It has like a hint of peanut butter, but it smells like somehow worse than peanut butter.
Oh, you know what it almost smells like? Like vape.
It smells like a peanut butter vape.
Yeah, like if you opened a vape flavor and like all the guys here who vape, that's what it smells like.
It does. Yeah, and somehow maybe some sort of like wet dog.
I don't care for it.
I don't love it. I'll drink this one.
I
don't think it's going to be a refill for me.
I don't think that'll be a refill. I feel like there are other drinks that they had on there that I thought would be actually pretty good. But I was like, okay, I know you like old fashions. You ordered them when we've gone places before.
I feel like this is kind of like, if you've never had an old fashioned before, don't try this one because it will taint the whole experience for you.
They have, let me see, they had another drink that I thought sounded pretty good, which was Island of Misfits. It's more like a tropical drink, which is like dark rum, orange juice, pineapple juice, and cream of coconut with an ounce and a half of this. It looks, to me, it was more appealing, but I was like, you know what? I know you like old fashions.
It doesn't sound like a bad idea, and I feel like it smells worse than it tastes.
Well, yeah, because it smells like vape juice.
Yeah, it doesn't taste horrible. It's not good. I wouldn't ever order this, but
I definitely would not have more of it.
The good news is we have lots left.
Yeah, that's
probably how much there's gonna be.
Smallest bottle that they have.
Of course.
So we can gift it to somebody.
Regift.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. So obviously this is the week after the big game.
Yes.
And a lot of people are talking about the Hummer Super Bowl commercial. Did you see that?
I did not see it.
Did you watch the game at all?
I did.
It was like some really weird teasery thing. I think there was like LeBron James or somebody in it, but it's essentially just like the grill of this Hummer. And then they put on like 3 stats. It's like 1,000 horsepower, 11,000 foot-pounds of torque, and 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. And it says Hummer.
Wow. I mean, honestly, if you were going to make another Hummer, the H2 was fucking stupid, right? Like it was kind of just like a...
Hey man, I loved that thing in Bad Boys too.
It was kind of just like
I
don't know. Well, I guess it was maybe the H3 was more like the soccer mom.
The H2 was just a Tahoe.
Right. So
the H3 was a Colorado. But you could get an H3 with a V8, but you couldn't get the Colorado with a V8.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. It felt kind of like a douchemobile because the H1 was like legitimate cool.
You mean you don't like rolling around in a bright yellow box? Because they're all yellow as far as I'm concerned.
Everyone I ever recall seeing is yellow, yes. But H1s were legitimately cool and badass, and like military vehicles turned to street cars, basically, even though they had no business being there. So it makes sense that you would go extreme with the next one.
Yeah, apparently a bunch of people are saying that the torque number, which is absurd, 11,000, is at the wheels after gear reduction. So it's not
right.
It's kind of a little.
It's a marketing. It's just a marketing number.
But 0 to 60 in 3 seconds.
That's pretty
in
badass.
A Hummer.
I assume 1,000 horsepower. It's got to have a V10 twin turbo engine in it, probably.
Oh, it's electric.
Oh, it's electric.
It's electric. Yeah.
Oh.
That's the other thing that's weird about it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, it's electric. That's why the torque is so.
I see. That's why the torque's so high.
Yeah.
Well, because they all rated that. I think the equivalent of a lot of the Tesla numbers, and I know the Taycan, they were rating torque numbers pretty high. It's gotten better for me.
Oh, it's gotten worse for me.
Really?
I feel like it smells like dog breath. It's kind of that's the vibe I'm getting when I go to take a sip from it.
If it makes you feel better, I have 2 dogs, and their breath is way worse than this.
Well, have you fed them peanut butter recently?
Yeah.
And then let them breathe on your face.
I haven't tried that.
I think that's the effect. Maybe they've been a good boy, or they need to take some medicine, so you give them it wrapped in peanut butter, they eat it, and they go to lick your face, and you just get peanut butter dog breath. I think that's a pretty accurate scent. Yeah. Now breathe in with that image in your mind, and you'll get there.
Yeah.
But they haven't announced anything. Back to the Hummer. They haven't announced anything else about it yet. They just showed a picture of the grill. It says Hummer.
Right. It's a teaser, basically.
Yeah, I guess it's coming out in May. They're gonna do more details, but
it's coming out, or they're just announcing it.
I think it's a release in May, a release date for more information. But it's also not a Hummer anymore. It's a GMC Hummer. So the model is the Hummer, and it's by GMC instead of They're not resurrecting the brand.
Right. The brand itself is not standalone anymore, which makes sense. It was dumb that they had it as a separate brand before.
It's dead and it's staying dead.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, it follows this trend of EV stuff, which coincidentally enough, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but it's kind of ties into this. Jason from Engineer Explained did a video talking about basically if ICE engines are going to be dying.
Internal combustion.
Internal combustion engines are they going to be dying, and what the future of that looks like. And his general premise was, and the equivalent of energy output from 3 gallons of fuel is roughly what a Tesla battery pack, the highest Model S battery pack, has. So the issue that obviously all of this stuff, and obviously it's a battery, so it's renewable as opposed to gas where you just burn it and it's gone, but it still creates an issue of space and all of the issues around batteries that create problems for them being a viable option as just mainstream replacement cars for everybody. I mean, I don't think that a lot of the people who continue to harp on electric cars, nor the manufacturers really, I think the manufacturers don't really give a shit. I think they're just following along with everyone wants electric cars. That's what we're doing.
I saw something about, I didn't look into it at all, but that Ford Mustang that we talked about last week, the Mach-E,
yes,
which is the name of it. I couldn't think of that last week.
Yes.
Apparently they have an icebox front trunk that you can just put food in and then eat out of it.
It's like a tailgate,
I guess.
Vehicle.
Yeah, it seemed very gimmicky, but they had it
sounds like a
chicken
gimmick.
wings or something. It was odd. But yeah, that Hummer is going to be interesting to see. I think that they could possibly be capitalizing on what people want from the Cybertruck in being this electric, manly, cool-looking truck that's a little bit more traditional. Yeah. And then you get the Cybertruck and you have that weird polygon. And then you have the Hummer, which is going to be faster, right? Didn't they say the Cybertruck's in that same range?
It's fast, yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah, it was going to be in that same range, yeah.
But looks like something that a person that lives on Earth would drive, not an
idiot.
There's just plenty of idiots on Earth, but somebody that's on Mars is what I was going to say.
Yeah, Mars is fair.
Which that's Elon's goal. So he's just
Maybe he's preparing for Mars so that he's trying to get everybody styled up so that they're really ready for Mars.
He just wants it to look like what was that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall, when he goes to Mars.
Yeah, all I ever know, think of Total Recall is the chick with 3 boobs. That's all I ever know of with Total Recall.
Wasn't that Fifth Element?
Mm-mm.
That was Total Recall.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I think the EV market seems to be a little bit kind of silly at this point, but we'll see how everything shakes out.
I'm intrigued with performance coming in cars that you wouldn't expect. So that's a good sign for the future. Me.
It's cool. I think it's cool.
Now, if we can get that Honda E to do 1,000 horsepower, we get a Hummer swap a Honda E. There we go.
That
next big thing.
It would do well, except for I don't think you could fit enough batteries. It'd just be the whole hatch of it just filled with batteries to even have any chance of surviving.
Yeah, well, don't worry about that. You can tow a little trailer behind it.
Like a dual motor, a battery trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With a little generator on it, too, to recharge the battery.
Yeah. The things that I thought were interesting to touch on is I had saw some stuff about the diesel tuning stuff. I had a thought about the diesel tuning market and how the EPA was going after people for tuning stuff and prosecuting people and all kinds of stuff like that. And it kind of led me to the idea of the future of tuning, because it also tied into how manufacturers are going to be handling that stuff. Because to me, the most interesting part is in the future, over-the-air updates are happening, obviously, with Tesla stuff already. But in the future, that's basically going to be all manufacturers. We're probably 5 years away from that being just a normal car thing, that every car has over-the-air updates and blah, 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 whatever.
Well, my Tacoma did that for the radio.
Right. And a lot of manufacturers are already doing it, but it's not everyone yet. And I don't know how closely they monitor everything, but we're probably not too long away from it being at scale. Your sour face.
I'm sorry.
For anybody who's not watching, Max has an extremely sour face while he's drinking.
I'm sorry.
His drink.
I didn't mean to sway the conversation.
It was just an interesting scowl.
A little distracting.
But yeah, I think the concerns around people who are worried about basically not being able to tune your car at all seems to me like piggybacks are probably going to be just the norm for any gas internal combustion engine, that what you do, because of other concerns obviously around manufacturers and warranty stuff, but also around maybe issues for the manufacturers directly because of over-the-air updates.
Maybe. I don't know. I know that whole diesel thing was real big news. It was like 2017,
2018.
A few years ago. And it, there were a couple big companies that had something. I actually never followed up on that to see what actually happened, but they were approached by the I almost said FAA, but the EPA.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like it was just a lot of hype and scare around it, and nothing really came of it for the vast majority of the aftermarket. People were running around like Chicken Little saying the sky was falling, that the whole aftermarket was going to shut down. You can't modify your car at all anymore. And then nothing really
It definitely was that. The only people I think that they went after directly were people with diesel trucks who were doing DPF deletes. So I have seen cases where even people who are just regular public people, YouTube people who don't even have big followings, some of them, who the EPA found their videos about DPF deletes and went after them for their specific car, not even necessarily a manufacturer. So it seems like a lot of the big manufacturers stopped doing DPF deletes. They still do tuning, and there's still no concerns necessarily around tuning stuff at this point, although who knows what could happen with that. Seems unlikely it's going to be a major concern, but I would say it's more likely to be a concern around over-the-air updates and people's car, manufacturers knowing immediately you've tuned your car, essentially.
That's an interesting thought. If they run telemetry on your car basically all the time, kind of like Tesla does.
Right.
Well, that would be interesting thought. I was kind of going the other way with your whole future of tuning thing. I think it's going to be more like, whereas there's more electric cars, it's going to be more like almost modding like a computer where you like add some
Overclock.
increased cooling and then you can do this, you can push the limits and it'll like, thermal throttle, but you can just tweak it a little bit more. And I think that's going to be cool to see people actually play with. I don't know if that's going to be how difficult that's going to be to do.
Oh, I think
It's something you can just get like a new, I don't know, what would you call it, a PCM, like a powertrain control module instead of a...
I'm sure there'll be software updates.
Yeah, but like you could just swap one. You have a standalone electric computer. Like how does inspection work on electric cars? Have you ever dealt with that? Do you like...
No, I mean...
Is it like diesels where there is just no inspection? You just...
I don't think
only?
safety. It would have to be safety only because what is their concern? There's no emissions concern,
They
right?
might have something around air
Battery,
conditioning.
I guess battery
I mean,
battery emissions.
the emissions testing or OBD tests air conditioning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be something like that. I don't know. I'm genuinely curious about that. I think that there's your market right there in the future. You just diesel, DPF delete, swap an electric car, and you have no problems.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that direction, but for sure that will exist, and I think will be particularly software and then cooling, like you said. Like that's going to be the two major things: is software and cooling, because the factory cooling system isn't going to hold up to people who are just cranking up the output of the motors. And I'm sure people will set cars on fires and have thermal events with batteries, and just it'll be a fucking nightmare. I can't imagine that's not going to happen. I assume. Have you seen thermal events on battery packs before?
I mean, I've seen things when people pierce lithium-ion batteries and they just like this fiery death and like that whole thing. What was it? The
Fisker.
No,
I wasn't.
I'm not even going with car related, but the Samsung Note was it 7, 5?
7.
Whichever
the
one.
Note that
The one
exploded.
that had all that backlash. You weren't allowed to take it on planes and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, those caught fire and they could catch fire and you can't really put them out. They just kind of have to go out on
Right.
their own.
You
can smother them and then there won't be any fire, but you take it off and there's fire again.
Yeah, but obviously battery packs, it's way uglier when you're talking about a car battery because
Well, it's 'cause you get a runaway chain reaction where one pack overheats and then it's so hot that it's heating up the ones around it, and then it just chain reacts,
Right.
and it's kind of uncontrollable.
right. Yeah, it's
I just want to get to the point where people are cooling their battery pack and their controllers with liquid nitrogen and doing like a quarter-mile pass, kind of like you do with, like I said, I just built a gaming computer. I've just done all this research on these extreme cooling that people do. That just apply that to a car, and you only need to cool it for 6 seconds. Imagine what you can do. It could be crazy.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's it's interesting for sure. So yeah, in terms of tuning though, I was more thinking of over-the-air updates, and basically, obviously for us in the VW and Audi space, we're familiar with the term TD1, which is the manufacturer flagging your vehicle for being modified, and that shit's going to happen the minute you do it because they'll know over the air that you modified the software.
What if they do a 0 to 60, like you exceed the threshold, and like they know you've made it too fast?
They easily could do that too, right? Like any time you've exceeded whatever 20% faster than what the limit they've placed on the vehicle.
It makes me think of there is a video, I think it might have been Randy Popes. He was at I think it was the Corvette Museum racetrack I think it was a Corvette. Makes sense. And he's out there on the track, and OnStar thinks he was in an accident because he had so much G-force. And he's yelling at them. It was like, no, I'm on a racetrack. And like they saw that he was going,
Right.
the
Too many
G-force,
lateral
like,
G's. And
maybe
triggered.
that'll trigger a thing, and then it's like, bing, your check engine light's on, and we just want to bring you in so we can void your warranty.
Right. And my guess is they probably just send you an email.
Check engine light? I don't even have an engine.
Right. They probably just send you an email and say like, hey,
please don't come back.
Guess what? Guess what? Don't worry, your drivetrain warranty's void. See ya.
Smiley face. It's like the little the fault code for engine speed exceeded in Vacom with a little smiley face. This is warranty void.
Yes. So I
The
think
smell is really unpleasant from this. The taste I can get.
taste isn't that bad. I actually don't mind the smell either, although I won't be having another.
No, me neither. This will be the first one that we haven't done refills on.
It is. Although I feel like this has some potential, it just can't be.
I feel like it needs to be less of it. Like that needs to be just like a little.
Well, it just needs to be in like a mixer. I just wonder if you did like what does whiskey mix with as far as like a drink? Like obviously you can't do Coke.
Well, we did the 7 and 7 last time with the 7 Up.
That would be probably kind of weird.
Lemon, lime,
do we have 7 Up still?
I don't know what happened to it. It was in here. Oh no, I put it in the fridge upstairs.
Oh.
We do still have it, but it's probably flat as hell.
I'd still be willing to try it just to see.
That making our own thing could be amazing.
It's probably not going to be amazing.
We might need to put a pin in this, refill and revisit.
Yes, we will have to when we get to that point. But
that means I have to drink the rest of this abomination.
You will have to finish that. I'm not too far off. I think obviously the tuning stuff. There could be an expanding of that. You know, we had obviously people in our industry, somebody who told me, which I had mentioned to you in the past, about the EPA going after one of our peers as far as a company for selling things called turbo muffler deletes, because anything with the word delete in it is considered something that they need to go after.
I think that was also a little bit of Chicken Little.
Seems a little overblown to me.
I've never heard anyone else say anything about that. No one else has changed. I know we changed our wording to...
Right. Nobody else has. You're 100% right. And we've changed our verbiage to not say turbo muffler delete because it didn't want to have the intention that you're deleting a muffler, but it's not an emissions related item.
Muffler isn't anyways.
Right, not that the muffler is either. So just the implication is that the word delete means that the EPA is going to fine you, which is just fucking stupid. Not that bureaucratic systems are not fucking stupid, because they probably generally are. And that seems more likely that maybe they were contacted by the EPA about that, and then it was subsequently went away after that. That would be my assumption. But
you think it's like those things when you're using Volkswagen's name on your website and they just like send you the cease and desist and they never have any intention of actually suing you, but in case they do, you have to stop.
Possibly, but back in the day, they used to like go after people hard. I think now with the way VW, with the way the world is as far as social media, I think that it's a PR nightmare for them to go after shops for using VW's logo on their window, and then they get the PR nightmare of big man going after the little guy trying to step on his neck. It just doesn't look. It's not a good look.
Gets people fired up.
Right.
We spoke about Bad Boys earlier, right, with the Hummer.
The movie.
I saw Bad Boys 3 the other day.
The movie itself?
Yes.
I didn't even know it was out.
Yeah, it came out.
I knew it was coming
a couple weeks ago, I think. But I saw it. It was all right. It was, Bad Boys. What you expect? It's got a Porsche
action
in it.
movie. Whatever.
Yeah, it's cool. 992 actually, the new Porsche. But DJ Khaled has a cameo in it as a character, and I found out what his name was for real when I watched the credits. You know what DJ Khaled's actual name is?
No, I don't think so.
His name is Khaled.
No, come on.
Yes, his full name is Khaled Muhammad Khaled. It's probably Khalid.
It's Khalid,
it's this because he says DJ Khaled because he's trying to make it for white people to pronounce it.
Right.
But
his
name is Khaled.
It's Khalid Muhammad Khalid.
Spelled the same way.
I don't know if I knew Khalid was a last. I guess I knew it as a first name for sure.
That's it. That's his whole name. Both of them twice.
And obviously Muhammad is the most common name in the world. That's interesting. Fun fact.
It's very weird.
DJ Khaled's name. His first name and his last name are the same name.
You just better buckle up for these random facts I'm going to throw at you every time.
So the other thing that I was going to talk about was the eTurbo. I don't know if you have seen this, but Borgwarner has developed a electric turbo.
Is it full electric?
No.
Oh, so it's like the F1 cars use, where it's got like the electric center section that uses as like a generator.
Yes, it has like an electric center section that uses a generator /
It's a generator when the car is
Correct.
spooling it, and it's powered when it would not be in boost, right?
Correct.
Those things are freaking cool. I don't know why that hasn't like made its way into like a high-end road car yet.
It is. So the reason why I know about it is because Borgwarner made an announcement that they've officially made a deal with a manufacturer that it's coming.
That makes sense.
They didn't say who. Obviously, I presume it's a German company. It's probably either Volkswagen, Audi, BMW, or Mercedes. I don't know. Your guess.
Porsche?
Could be Porsche. Could be Porsche too.
They're German. And
yeah, they fit all
they
the
like
same.
turbos. I mean, everybody likes turbos, but
yeah, I don't know. The beginning of most companies with turbos are probably usually not so much. Tell that to people who have N54s.
People love N54s
until they blow up.
Well, those things are freaking cool. I mean, come on, twin turbo.
They're good engines.
Inline six.
Fast.
They make 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
Did you see? Probably didn't, because you're not in any of these weird groups that I am. Some diesel perfectly. We're talking about diesel tuning. They took a 335D, which is not an N54, but
Right.
Anyways, they took a 335D, stock turbos, stock engine block, stock internals, upgraded the injection pump and the injectors, and added nitrous. They did, I think it was 700 horsepower and 1,100 foot-pounds of torque at the wheels.
It's pretty solid. Nope. Why nitrous, not propane?
I mean, they use nitrous on diesels too.
Yeah.
The nitrous is just because you don't need propane. 'Cause propane is fuel,
Right.
and nitrous is air.
Right.
So with the bigger injectors and the injection pump, they can supply enough fuel. They just need more
Right.
air. They said that the air the engine was ingesting, 50% of it was nitrous, but like 1,000 wheel torque and
That's wild.
700 horsepower on a stock engine.
That's wild.
That is great. In stock turbos.
Right.
That is insanity.
I'm sure it wouldn't last super long like
No,
that.
they said we don't recommend doing
this
this.
is
but
not going to last.
They were trying to. I think it's the company builds the fuel system, and they were testing the fuel system, so they just kept throwing more nitrous at it.
They were trying to push it to see what the limits were.
Right, because they didn't want to have to do like 5 different turbo kits to see what kind of power it can output. But I can't believe that engine can hold it.
It's wild. Yeah.
That's like double the stock power on a car that's not even like low powered.
Yeah, I mean, most German engines mechanically
that's
are
almost triple the torque.
Yeah, I mean they're usually well made mechanically, and it's the rest of the stuff that's a problem.
Wow, sometimes
Depends on the car.
Yeah,
right. But
timing chains.
Yeah, well, that's a different problem. Unrelated. That's over long term. That's not power related.
But yeah, that is. I saw that was wild.
That is cool.
There is another thing that is a wild car. The Yaris or GR Yaris. Have you seen anything about that?
I haven't. The only thing I know is GR stuff. I know there's a Super GR, which is like a track version of it.
Well, GR is Gazoo Race. It's probably not pronounced Gazoo, but it's Gazoo. Gazoo. I think that's the only way you could possibly pronounce that. But racing, and it's like, it's not TRD, but it's kind of TRD. It's more racing than TRD is, I think. And they built this car as the homologation for a rally car. And it's almost like the cars in the 80s when they did the rally homologation, where they weren't even really close to the street car. They were just crazy, wild machines. So the Yaris is normally 5-door only, it's a 4-door with a hatch. And because it's European and Japanese model, they don't go by 2 and 4-door, it's 3 and 5. But it's 4-door only, and it's got like a regular beam rear end, kind of like the cheap Volkswagens do. Crappy engine, completely unremarkable vehicle.
Right.
But the Toyota,
the Yaris is cheaper than the Corolla. It's the lower version than the Corolla,
it's smaller even. But Toyota, the guy, not the company, wanted to do WRC, and they did. I think they won the championship last year, and they're building a car for this. And he's like, "Oh, I don't really care what it costs. Let's build this awesome car." So they made a 2-door version specifically for this. they changed the entire rear suspension to something that's like from the, think it's Corolla, might be Camry, but so it's double wishbone in the back. It's got a custom like bespoke all-wheel drive system that can send 100% of the power to either side.
Wow, really?
Yes.
That's wild.
It's got a 270 horsepower 3-cylinder 1.6 with a 6-speed manual and like big brakes, and thing's freaking sweet. It looks awesome.
I'm sure it's light as hell.
It has aluminum, I think, hood, doors, and hatch, and a carbon fiber roof. And
So it's a car you'd never want to own.
I would own the shit out of it.
Well, you wouldn't want to keep for a long time.
In Japan, not Europe, the base model starts at like 36,000.
Oh, that's actually not bad considering it's probably a pretty badass car.
Considering how crazy it is. Mm-hmm. Now, it's kind of like we talked about in one of the previous podcasts. It probably doesn't have a lot of overhead for tuning because it's a 1.6.
It's cranked up pretty high.
3-cylinder with 270 horsepower. It probably doesn't have a lot of room to bump that up. But that thing is freaking sick. 6-speed manual. Then they have like I forgot what they call it, like performance track race package that puts Torsen limited slip diffs in the front and the back. And it's got they all have the electronically controllable center differential. Freaking sick car.
So what all-wheel drive system is it using that can send 100% of the power front or rear?
Beats me. They said it's like it's a custom thing that they did. A lot of the rally cars have like a fully, it has a center differential, so it's not like
it's different. Yeah,
it's not like a Haldex.
Yeah.
I didn't see any details as to what specifically how that worked. But yeah, it is adjustable between like 70-30 to 30-70, I think is what the typical splits are. And then it said it has the ability to send 100% to either way for like
so it probably just uses a complete center drive differential, and it has a drive shaft that runs up to front and rear.
What I imagine is there's probably clutches involved at the front diff and rear diff, or on the input and output side of the transfer case. That would be like where the center diff is.
Well, it's like a lockup for drive, so basically it will engage or disengage the drive shaft itself.
I don't know. That's one that I'm really interested to see what they do with it, because like, the Focus RS can send more power to the rear than like a Golf R can with the Haldex, where it's only 50-50 split, because the Focus has a different final drive for the rear end, right? And they just make it all up.
It's all slip. Mechanical, basically. Yeah.
Right, and the clutch slip is what allows it to not bind. But I don't know. I imagine there have to be clutches involved. Like there has to be. But it's super cool because it's like a whole new car, because it's 2-door instead of 4-door, where they never made a 2-door. So it's not like they brought it back.
Why would you do Yaris of all the cars that you were going to do it on?
Well,
I
because
know they did the GRC Yaris, and that was their car.
Well, it's because like the WRC rules limit to engine size and small cars. Mm-hmm. That's why it's like Fiestas, not Focuses, that they run.
The Beetle was on there.
The Beetle was on GRC, which is Rallycross. They never ran it on WRC, which is Rally.
Oh, I see.
Stage Rally and Rallycross are wildly different things. Yeah, so because VW ran Polos in WRC.
Yeah, that's right. They did run those Polo cars.
Right. So, and they had the Polos in GRC in the beginning, and then switched them to the Beetles. But it's all typically smaller cars in WRC. Like what you would expect as a European hatchback is kind of what they do with that. But yeah, it's pretty wild. Like it has completely different suspension than the street car, completely different bodywork, completely different engine, completely different trans, completely different drivetrain. It's literally a different car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not even the same car. It just looks like it.
And obviously, it's not something that they're planning on bringing to the U.S.
Why would they? No one would buy it here.
No. The thing that really is like the twist in the knife in the enthusiast there is that they said they weren't bringing it to the U.S. And then Toyota USA tweeted, "Hey guys, does anybody want like another hot hatch?" And like shared Jalopnik's article
About
for
it,
that
yeah.
car.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's like, "Oh my god, it's amazing!" And Toyota's like, "No, we don't have any plans to bring this here."
Yeah, of course
Like,
not.
It's like, why would you?
Yeah, they just want the hype.
Why would you tease us?
They just want the hype.
But the thing with that car and why they developed it, one of the things they said was that the guy Toyota with the D, the guy, not the company, wanted to show that Toyota can develop performance cars on their own. Because there are other sporty cars, the FRS or the GT86 now that they deleted Scion, and the Supra were co-developed with
Right.
BMW and Subaru.
Right. They weren't
So-
standalone on their platform.
Right, where this car was completely developed from them by the ground up.
Right. Basically saying, hey, we can make badass shit too.
Yeah, and really for something that's as wild as that, it's also super light. I forgot, I don't think they had said what the actual weight is, but
I presume if you make a carbon fiber roof on a Yaris, it's probably pretty light.
yeah, and also
Low 2000s.
aluminum hatch
Right.
and doors. Those are both going to save, and it has these like big wide fender flares compared to the stock car or the other car. Oh, that was the other thing with the high performance model. It gets you a intercooler sprayer and BBS wheels. But
So you have to run a nitrous bottle, or it's like methanol.
it's probably water is what they spray it with. Like the JDM STIs had a really cool setup for that. They had a tank that like went across the whole back seats, and you filled that with water, and then when you were full throttle, it would spray the intercooler. So not something that you would ever give an American, because Americans don't even check their oil, let alone fill their intercooler sprayer. But
Yeah, it'd be a waste. They wouldn't know what to do with it.
yeah, but there's some like minor. There's like a 2% chance that it might come to the U.S. just because Toyota has kind of teased that, even though they said they haven't. They're not going to bring it here. There's like a little teensy chance.
Speaking of which, I haven't mentioned to you. I don't know if David mentioned to you, but we have a car in the shop that was at a dealer, and they added AdBlue to the cooling system.
They did what?
So for those at home who may not be familiar, AdBlue is also called urea. It is something you inject into diesel exhausts. That's part of the DPF system, and it's for emissions purposes, whatever.
How does that even happen?
So I assume, a lot of dealers have these service express programs where they have more quick lube type employees that do basic maintenances, mostly just oil changes and stuff like that. And I presume, I don't know, but I presume one of them is what did it. And so the only reason Jack knew is because he pulled off the cooling cap, and it was just like straight ammonia that hit him in the face as he opened it, and he was like, that is definitely AdBlue. And so, well, here's the best part. So he actually posted that in one of the small Facebook groups of VW technicians specifically. This is not the first time this has happened. This has happened multiple times.
Somebody's here.
Curtis is here.
Yeah. So this has happened multiple times to people?
I counted because after we thought about it, I had the same reaction you did, where I was like, what the fuck? How is this even possible?
They don't even look anything like coolant.
It's just clear. It's clear. All AdBlue is just clear fluid. I guess you could confuse it with water, maybe, if you're an idiot.
You would have to be a real idiot. You don't get water from Volkswagen. They don't say, here's this VW water part number, add that with the coolant. Although they probably will now that they've thought of the idea to sell water to people.
So,
well, they basically have by doubling the price of their coolant, because now they don't offer.
There in that post, and this is not a big group, there was probably 6 people who responded that they've seen it before, a couple of which have seen it multiple times. And it destroys everything in the cooling system. So they have coolant mixed with AdBlue and some seals in there to see what it's going to do to them, to see if it's going to make a difference. But yeah, that's apparently it blows out everything in the cooling system.
I was going to add, I feel like that is probably pretty acidic?
Yeah, I would assume so. I don't know about the contents of it, but I assume it's acidic. And the reason the guy came to us is because he's having a bunch of coolant leaks. He's already had a coolant leak directly as a result. Oh, by the way, they also lied to him about it too. They never told him about it. They just like a week later they did a water pump for him or whatever, and never told him anything about it.
Wait, so they put the AdBlue in the car.
Mm-hmm.
He had some coolant leaks and took it back to them.
Yes.
They changed the water pump. He's still having coolant leaks. He brings it to us.
Yeah.
We then open the coolant cap and it still smells like...
Apparently so, yes.
How is that even possible?
I mean, if they didn't thoroughly flush the cooling system, that shit probably... If you dump a bunch of AdBlue into a cooling system and then it circulates through...
Did they fill the whole cooling system?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I have so many questions.
Yes. I have no idea. All I know is that obviously our part of it is like, we're like, we got to get this shit out of here, flush it out completely. But we're concerned about anything in the cooling system, really, because a couple of those guys who have seen it happen before said, you are married to that car forever. It's going to have everything that can leak, will leak. And that's it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That sounds horrific. I have so many questions. I want to meet the guy who did this. Like, what was going through your mind?
Well,
They don't even come in the same bottles as coolant. It's different.
correct.
It's a different shape.
Yes.
Like, I could see the same shape, different label. Like, okay, maybe you pour it in.
Right.
It's not.
Not. Yeah. But again, the thing that I was just as shocked as you, but I think the most shocking part is that this is not the first time that this has happened in general to people in our same industry with our very small niche. So this is probably any cars that have AdBlue this is happening on, which is really scary.
I am just filled with so many. I can't even begin to express my level of confusion at this.
I feel like we could refill now. We can swap out for...
We want to go for the mystery lemon lime peanut butter.
Let's see.
Does that sound appealing?
Let's go rinse.
We're going to go rinse. We'll pick you back up in a minute. All right, so now we're trying the wild card.
This is complete and utter wild card. No idea what's going to happen here. You're just pouring it just like that.
That looks about what you had in there, right?
I did about I don't know.
Did you use the jigger?
Yes, I used 1 ounce.
How was it? That's probably about right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe more. I don't know. I hope it's not more.
It's terrible.
It is not good. Sorry. That's where it goes. Screwball sponsoring us.
Screwball sponsored another podcast, which is how I found out about this.
Just make sure we water that down nicely.
And I saw a review. So the funny thing is, I saw a review about this, and I was like, oh, this is like some snobby whiskey person who's like, don't you touch my beloved whiskey with flavors. You know, those type of people. Wow, you went a little heavy there on the pouring.
I wanted to water down that peanut butter awfulness.
Well, you don't need to float all the liquid out of the glass with your ice.
It hasn't gone out of the glass yet. It is adjacent to the out of the glass.
Oh, that actually kind of tastes like Fruity Pebbles a little bit.
It's lemon, lime, and peanut butter.
Taste it. I think
that I filled this up too much.
I know you filled it up too much.
It does smell like Fruity Pebbles. It has the aftertaste of Fruity Pebbles.
It legitimately tastes like Fruity Pebbles. It's a little bit of a funky Fruity Pebbles, but it's still Fruity Pebbles.
I don't think it doesn't have the initial flavor, and then the aftertaste is still horrible peanut butter. But the middle taste,
it's not bad.
It's way better than the first one. But that's not...
Okay, there you go, Screwball.
That's not a high bar.
That's it. It's Screwball. If you like...
You need to make a 7 and 7 with Screwball.
Yes.
And it makes it less undrinkable.
Yeah. So back to our discussion. Oh, yeah, so the eTurbo thing, I'm interested to see...
Oh, we didn't even talk about that basically at all.
I like the idea of it. I'm very concerned about the reliability.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see, like, especially that technology. I imagine is probably going to be one of those things that trickles down really quickly.
Yes.
Like, the lane departure warning and all those camera crazy tech was only in like the highest of the high end cars, like 5 years ago. Now it's in Golfs.
The one problem with that theory is it requires a 48-volt system to be in the car. So it's like these mild hybrid systems, which it's way better than mild hybrid because mild hybrid is just fucking stupid. But the eTurbo still requires a 48-volt system, which means you need an expensive-ass battery to actually make the turbo work, which I'm sure the turbo's not cheap either.
Well, not necessarily, because you could, depending on what they do, they could run the batteries in series. They could run 2 batteries in series.
I mean, that's only 24 volts.
Oh, right, before 4 batteries. Yeah. That would be impractical.
It would be impractical.
So you would need an expensive.
Right.
You could run 2.
You'd probably need a $1,000 battery.
Halfway expensive batteries.
Right. And the problem with it is that
Math is hard, okay?
Yeah, I know.
That's why I'm not in accounting.
The problem is that I'm not sure the juice is worth the squeeze because what do you gain by it? A quicker spool up, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I think there have been some electric superchargers out there that actually do work, and I think they're 24 volt, which I think if you can get this working on 24 volt instead of 48, then you have some potential for some more widespread use.
Yeah. My concern is it's going to be expensive, and the only thing you really gain from it is slightly better acceleration.
Well, it also, you could use that in one of the mild hybrid situations where the turbo is charging the other electrical system.
For sure. Yeah. Well, they'd be on the same electrical system, but yes, it charges the same 48-volt system. So to get paired together, it has more usefulness than just the basic system. Now, there are other using one of those eTurbos on a small, like let's say a 1.3 engine with an electric drive system, because I don't know if you've seen like those. There's a bunch of different systems that they have now for those 48-volt systems, but some of them are a drive unit that's basically built into the transmission that will drive the car at, in lower power situations as opposed to higher, and then the other motor kicks in. So those are the hybrid systems, the gas electric hybrids that actually have value. The mild hybrid one was the one that's basically a generator motor that replaces the alternator that can spin the engine while you turn the engine off, essentially, which is just fucking dumb because it's just a bunch of costs for nothing.
Yeah, well, a lot of cars are doing that with the stop-start stuff now.
Yes, a lot of them are doing the start-stop stuff.
Yeah, which has big EPA benefits. I mean, I don't know how
But that's it.
I don't know how much that translates to real-world emissions benefits, because what the EPA is trying to do, they don't really care about you using less money in fuel. They care about the
Emissions.
environment lasting longer. So I imagine the car is not running while they're idling probably does make a big difference.
If it were to be every car on the road over time, yeah, I would assume make a pretty big impact because cars spend a lot of time idling, especially places that have heavy traffic.
Yeah, so in that respect, I see that there probably is some value to the mild hybrids that use that for their stop-start. But I don't know.
The problem is, do you want to spend $5,000 on a system for your car just to get better emissions?
If they're all like that, you're not spending $5,000 more. That's just the cost that's built into it.
Yeah, but they're not, though.
Right, but it may go that way. Who knows?
If they require it, for
Yeah.
sure, yes. And who knows? That's obviously a lot of that is going to be why manufacturers try to push towards stuff like that.
Or if they require that,
Right.
if you have to do that just to get to the number that they require.
Right. Right. And what they do is they at least offer it so that it's a part of their program so they can claim it as part of their overall, I don't even know all the details about how it works. Maybe you know more than me about it with that whole broad swath of vehicles in production and average fuel economy and blah, 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 blah. And, there's all these like complicated math things that require an abacus and a sundial. And
You mean like that Aston Martin, was it the Cygnet or whatever? That I don't know how you pronounce it, but it was the Scion IQ, but badged as an Aston Martin that they had.
I didn't even know that.
Really? The Scion had this little tiny car.
The XA.
No, it was smaller than
smaller
that.
than
It kind
XA.
of looked like an XA, but it was like the size of a smart car.
Okay.
And they had that they took and they made an Aston Martin out of, with just the front end. But other than that, and I think the interior was probably a lot nicer than the Toyota one.
I would assume so.
But it was basically that, and that's why the whole point behind that was supposed to be for the overall manufacturer emissions.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously I'm sure that's why they did it, is to skirt something, just to say, hey, not all of our cars are,
Look at that
12
little
miles
thing.
to the gallon. It's actually not that bad looking.
I think they made a V8 one with like crazy fender flares and stuff.
Why did I not know about? What year was that?
There is a V8 one. Look, it's got big old wide fenders on it.
I think it's actually kind of cool looking.
With the wide fender, I dig it. 2011 to 2013.
I definitely did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, it is a 1.3 liter engine with 97 horsepower. Yeah, see, and it's a 3-cylinder. My Toyota 3-cylinder is way cooler than that thing.
Probably is a Toyota 3-cylinder.
Oh yeah, but my new Toyota 3-cylinder in the Yaris that we were just talking about. It has a top speed of 105 though, so I mean,
What, the one, the Yaris?
no.
That
Little Aston, yeah. The Yaris, I imagine, that probably has like 150 mile an hour top speed.
Well, they could limit the top speed if they geared it crazy.
Yeah. Oh, it's got a CVT.
Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, is it electric also? I see something about a lithium ion battery pack. Oh, that's in the Scion. Or the Toyota version. They had to have a electric version.
Yeah, Scion's dead completely, I assume, right?
Yeah. They killed it a few years ago. That was a big thing. That's why the FRS changed over the Toyota. 'Cause they still wanted that car, but they didn't want Scion anymore.
Yeah.
They say, we like you, but all the rest of you can die.
Scion, you're a little bit younger than me, so you weren't around. I also, when Scion became a thing, the dealer I started at in Jersey was a VW Toyota dealer. So they wasn't like a dual dealer, like they were together, but they were basically a VW dealer, and then there was like a 2-lane like road that split between the Toyota dealer and the VW dealer. So we obviously were right with the VW or the Toyota dealer, and Scion was just coming on at the time. The concept of Scion was really cool because the idea was you get a basic car and then you accessorize it however you want. Now the execution of it was a bunch of stupid fucking cars.
I remember when Scion, the brand, first came out. I thought it was like the coolest idea ever. And then they came, like, if they had launched with the TC, right, when it
Would have been amazing. It would have killed.
Yeah, because the TC, which ended up being your ex-girlfriend's car, is basically what a TC is. If you're our age.
My ex-girlfriend had an Eclipse, but
yeah, well, she's clearly cooler than most. But the TCs always ended up being a girl's car. But like, I thought those things were actually cool when they came out.
They were cool looking.
They kind of reminded me of what the
Celica
and the Eclipse used to be.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like I could get down with that if it was a little bit sportier and it had like a better engine option. Like they would have been cool.
Yes.
If they had like a TRD version.
Yes, they were decent looking vehicles. The XA and the XB were like two ugly fucking cars. It was like, oh hey, here you can get this. It looks like an egg, or this one it looks like a box. That's your two options. Otherwise, go fuck yourself.
I think the best thing about Scion is that they're like, yeah, we're going to have this cool hip brand for all these kids who want to buy cars. And they only got bought almost exclusively by like old people.
I actually knew somebody when I moved here in 2004 who had a It was probably around 2005-ish that they had an XB.
Did they have were they super big into sound systems?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I think maybe he had a system, but back then everybody had a system. So
yeah, well, the Scions the XBs were one of those ones that like the people who did like the sound competitions got. They gravitated towards that car for some horrible reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Aston Martin version of that Scion IQ started at 30,000 pounds, because it was in Britain.
That's $60,000
It's
around that time.
This was in it was about that, but
that was it used to be about 2 to 1. The pound has come down quite a bit.
The Toyota version was 10,000.
Yeah, right. Right.
And it wasn't that much different. It got 59 miles to the gallon though.
That's pretty strong. But they didn't give a shit if they sold any. They knew they weren't going to sell a lot of them. They didn't really give a shit if they sold any of them, frankly.
I think they sold 4,000 per year.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Sold 4,000 per year because of the need to satisfy emissions. 1.3 liter engine.
They must have put like crazy incentives on them just to have an Aston logo on your car, and you would just ball out with your 1.3 liters of fury.
Oh, so I'm sorry. That's not what happened at all.
Okay.
Oh God.
I feel like 400 would be more about right.
Yeah.
Is that right?
So they were expecting 4,000 per year.
And how many did they sell?
Approximately 300.
Okay, I was pretty close. 400 sounds way closer to accurate.
Not
total
in
the life of the vehicle.
Yes. It's so much better.
It's so much. How many years did they sell them for?
2011 to
2013. So they sold 100 a year, roughly.
Yep.
Makes sense. It makes sense that car would sell 100 a year.
It was canceled due to disastrously low sales.
Disastrously low sales. I don't think how could you get lower sales than 100 cars a year?
Well, they built one that had a V8 in it from the Vantage.
That one sold probably pretty well.
Well, it only sold because some guy wanted them to build it. It says it uses the engine, transmission, suspension, and brakes from the Vantage.
How do you use a Vantage transmission in a car that small? It probably doesn't have a drive shaft. The trans just bolts directly to the differential.
It probably is something like that. Oh, that's amazing. 300 total cars.
That is.
How could you be so far off on your projections?
Maybe they don't.
Yeah, I think we could sell, conservatively 4,000 a year. We sold 300 total in 3 years.
Yeah, our projection was 12,000. We sold 300.
That's
it's close. Like missed it by that much.
Just that much. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not shocked by that. I'm a little shocked it's that low, just because you would think there's enough idiots with money. If you put an Aston Martin logo on it, people would want it. It's like Supreme logos on shit.
I mean, if you could buy the Toyota version for 10,000 and then you could buy the Aston Martin version for 20,
I guess it's probably closer.
Like double,
So I wonder, did they must have over manufactured it. So there must be a bunch of them just sitting around somewhere.
Or I wonder if they
fire saled them.
They just sold them back to Toyota and Toyota made them Scions.
That can't be worth it though.
Or I wonder also, maybe they just had like a commitment to Toyota and they only ordered them as they needed because it was essentially this other car, and then
they build them by hand anyway with the interiors.
So maybe they just didn't take them and they just defaulted on the contract or whatever.
Seems more likely.
I don't know, but that's hilarious production numbers. So if you actually see one of those, that's a pretty rare car.
I feel like I could make a car and sell more than 300 of them. And I would make not a good car because I don't know anything about making cars.
I don't know if you could even make 300 cars.
I think if I worked my ass off, I could, after like 3 years, I could have a chance to make 300 cars.
I don't know. We don't have the supply chain for that.
No, obviously you take time to even get the supply chain to even have a shot at it.
Do you think you could sell 300 cars for 60 grand each?
They'd have to be badass cars, not those cars.
You wouldn't be able to afford to make them for 60 grand.
I don't know. God, I don't even know if I could. You can't. There's no way I could sell that car for 60 grand. No fucking way. First of all, that's European number, so let's temper our American expectations of cars because we pay way less for cars here than they do there, about half on average.
That hurts us even more. So now you got to build a car for 30 grand.
Let's call it for 30 grand. You have to sell it because the problem is the sale price is the barrier to entry, right?
Right, exactly.
The cost matters, obviously, relevant for manufacturing, but the barrier to entry is the sale cost. And I think you could sell a car that you could make sexy for, even if it's a shitty, like, econo box. Well, econo box car that, for the 25 grand, maybe.
I don't know. I don't feel like you'd be able to afford to do that.
It'd be hard. It would be hard. I don't think it's easy. I mean, look at all these car companies that have gone out of business. Fisker actually made good-looking cars.
I feel like the more expensive the car is, the easier it is.
100%. It's more because it's more boutique-y. People, they're spending more. You have more elbow room and margin in what you're selling, and the expectations are different, and they're probably not going to drive it every day. So if it's a piece of shit, it kind of doesn't matter. Like Maserati, I mean, let's be honest, Maserati is still a company, so that's basically their entire customer base.
I mean, so is Alfa Romeo somehow, and they're on the lower end of that price range.
Well, yes.
When I was picking up that nightmare of an enterprise truck that I told you about, the guy was like, "Oh yeah, I used to have Alfa Romeo Giulia, and my girlfriend had one too. And Alfa Romeo ended up buying both of them back from us because they were such pieces of shit." They're like, my car was in the shop literally every single week for at least 2 days.
Yeah.
They ended up paying half of my lease on it because I didn't have the car for enough time to pay the lease, and then Alfa Romeo bought it back from me.
Yeah, Alfa, they make garbage.
But they make good-looking
They're
garbage.
Cool. Yeah, the Giulia Quadrifoglio was a good-looking car.
Even the regular Giulia
the 4C was a very attractive car. I don't know if you remember that car.
Some of them were. The European ones, they had two different headlights.
Oh, they did? Oh.
Yeah, there's the U.S. market ones all got the good-looking headlights. There's European ones that had like, I think they called them the spider headlights, and they sound kind of like you would expect. They look horrible.
When the 4C came out, my buddy in Jersey had worked at a Fiat dealer. They were adding Fiat Alfa together, and so I went and saw one. Oh, ugh.
That's the stock headlight.
Oh, they do. It does look. It looks, for those just listening and not watching.
Even for those watching.
For those watching.
I guess we could show those watching.
We could show those watching. It looks like spider eyes in the sense that it's mostly just like a bunch of little lights inside of a headlight. So the headlight is a black composite material, and then there's a bunch of little lights all inside of it.
It's carbon fiber, at least.
Well, the 4C was completely carbon fiber. The entire chassis was carbon fiber.
Yes, but the headlights were also carbon
Which I was like, oh, that sounds like a nightmare to make a chassis out of carbon fiber, because as soon as you crack something on it, it's done.
Yeah, but that's really less of a problem than it seems like. I think for Alpha people and Lotus people, which Lotuses are all fiberglass and they have the same kind of problem.
Yeah.
Where you put the jack in the wrong place and you total
go
your
through
car.
the body, yeah.
But BMW, the BMW i3, the little weird
the electric box thing.
That's all carbon fiber. You don't hear any problems with that.
They probably made better jack points. They probably Alpha just put like one random jack point that's not labeled or depicted at all in any way, and so people just jack through the floor every time.
I just love the ridiculousess of that car. Like, it's a 4-cylinder car that's like 80 grand. I think was like what they started at.
Which one? The 4C?
4C.
It was in the 70 range, I think.
Yeah,
the one I saw, I think, was like 68 or something like that, maybe 71.
But it's probably marked down a little.
Yeah. I don't remember, but it was in that range for sure.
Either way, they're expensive. They have this terrible semi-auto transmission is the only option.
Is that the case?
Yes.
Only auto?
Yep.
I think that's why I remember thinking like, oh, this isn't going to sell at all.
And it wasn't even like a traditional automatic or like a DSG, because you can get away with a DSG.
Yeah.
Now you can get away with a DSG. Everybody does DSGs.
It's the norm, yeah.
You could have then. No, it had like this weird single clutch thing, and the hood didn't even open. The trunk, the front area was bolted shut. You couldn't even use that space.
Yeah, it was a mid-engine car. Yeah.
Yeah. They were super cool though. And then like the 8C was a super sexy car. Didn't get, I think we got like 5 of them in the US.
Yeah, I don't think it really came here in any significant way.
No, but like Alpha just they make good looking cars. They sound cool, but they're not really known for reliability. But that's anything Italian, to be fair.
So
my Ducati leaks oil like a sieve. I only did that after I changed the oil. That's why I don't ride the thing anymore. I'm super mad about that whole situation.
Well, soon enough you have to dump it.
Yes, I should sell that thing. I'm so mad. Like I never I bought the thing. I was like, okay, I want to ride this year or last year, 2019. It's like I want to ride this as my like daily driver. It's really good on fuel. It's fun, whatever. Be more enjoyable ride to and from work and everything. So I'm like, okay, it's springtime. I'm going to change the timing belts on it. I'm going to do an oil change. I'm going to clean it up. Did an oil change, changed all the stuff, cleaned off some of the dirt that was on the bottom. Now it leaks oil like crazy. Never did before. I think it had dirt in whatever was leaking, and the dirt had clogged it up, and now that it's not there, it just leaks oil. You'd park it before I did the oil change and the work on it. You would park it, and it would drip one drop, and that was it. You'd park it, and it would do one drop on the ground. No biggie. But now it's just constant like drops. It's horrible. I have to put cardboard under it, change the cardboard because it gets soaked.
Yeah, to reseal it.
I don't even know where it's coming from. It looks like it might be coming from the starter area, but it's hard to tell because it's this high off the ground. You have to lay under it, and it's dirty, and it's. I hate it. Don't ever. Moral of the story: don't ever buy anything Italian,
except for chicken parm.
That's not real Italian.
Could be.
Italian food being the exception.
Italian food's delicious.
Don't ever buy anything mechanical that's Italian. How about that? I don't think there are any exceptions to that rule.
I'm going to say I don't know of anything else mechanical that's Italian.
You got Ferrari, you got Lamborghini, Alfa Romeo, Ducati. They're all pieces of shit. They're all really cool. They're all pieces of shit.
Really cool pieces of shit.
Yeah. There's probably some Italian watches that are okay, I guess. I don't know. Maybe a yacht.
Could be.
It seems like something Italy would make.
It seems like a yacht
but
would be something.
It's probably the same piece of shit that the Ferrari is.
It looks cool as shit.
Yeah.
It's super sexy.
It's super luxurious when it works. And then it makes you pull your hair out because it's broke down all the time.
It sinks all the time.
Yeah. On that bombshell.
Take us out. I think that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching. We do want feedback. So anybody who's watching
or listening,
if you've made it this far, in the comments or if you're listening, send us an email, shout us out on Instagram, and let us know what you think. We're open to feedback about changing things, adjusting the
topics you want us to talk about, discuss, things like that.
That's good too.
You can hit us on Instagram, Cars with Cocktails, or at Cars with Cocktails, and email if you want to reach us that way, which is carswithcocktails@gmail.com.
Yep. See you next week.
Boom.